Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Hey everyone, welcome back to Not Your Average Tabletop. I'm Mac.
I'm Zach.
I'm Pepper.
And I'm Abby.
Big crew here today at the table. Today we are continuing on our Stone Timber journey with a chippy for the game Charterstone. So do beware, if you haven't played this game, this video might contain some spoilers, so we highly recommend you not watch this until after you play Charterstone.
Yes, or if you are one that doesn't care about spoilers but wants to know a little bit more about the game,
then watch.
Then you can watch as well. But yes, we all played this together. It's a legacy campaign game, so you kind of want to use the same group if you can for every one of the games. So we played it with 4. I think it can go up to 6.
Yep.
But yeah.
So last chance, if you don't want Charterstone spoilers,
There will be spoilers.
stop the video now.
And go watch some of our other content.
Like and subscribe to go see plug.
Plug. But yeah, so like you said, we're doing a chippy review and kind of just a recap of the whole campaign. I think kind of just a little combination of both. I'm guessing we'll probably cover most of that in the review.
Oh boy.
But yes, so if you've never watched one of our chippy reviews before, each letter in the word chippy counts for something, and we kind of rank it from 1 to 10. So we've got core mechanics, history, investment, presentation, preference, and it factor. And we'll kind of give an overall score that we do based on a weighting system of each of those. But Pepper, you can start us off with the core mechanism. That's kind of what you thought.
Core mechanics, I have an 8.5 here. And again, spoiler alert for the campaign. I'm going to say it every time. It's pretty basic worker placement in this game. It does include kind of bumping of workers, which I really enjoy in games to kind of get... feels like an extra action, not having to pull back your workers just yet because you got one back from an opponent using that same spot. It's very satisfying whenever that happens. And I really like the legacy aspect of adding new buildings and new actions and covering up old ones even that maybe aren't so useful anymore in your charters. I just found that really, really cool.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm coming in with a 7.5. I really like the worker placement and the bumping of workers, which I think has been used in Euphoria, so one of his other games as well. But yeah, spoilers as well.
Guys, we've already told them. It's okay.
Some people don't listen.
Yeah, like you said, the
If
legacy...
you skipped ahead in the video, it's your own fault.
the legacy aspect of this is what really makes it, because you're unlocking more and more things as the game goes along, opening up, making it kind of a more complex game as it goes. Not like overly complex, but like you said, it starts as a pretty easy, light worker placement game and kind of just adds layers and layers as you're adding new buildings and kind of new ways to score. Along with, I really like the minions mechanism, which is something you get later on in the game, and you can use it in your own charter, and once you place them, you do still take the action like normal, but you also get a little benefit, and then also if other people end up going to that spot later in your charter, you also get the benefit again. I really like how that works.
Yeah, if people went to your
That's true, no one ever went to mine.
So I gave it a 7, and I agree with what you guys have said so far. I would just say, though, that the placement of new things in your charter I found frustrating because each charter has like a specific resource you can get at it. And what happens is...
let's start the game.
Yeah. And so what happens is as the game progresses, you are getting new, stickers in your like charter squares or whatever that have different things, and those also give you crates that allow you to unlock other things. But the crux of it is that sometimes you don't get to unlock everything, and so then those different basic resources might get scattered or covered, and so it becomes very difficult, I think, sometimes to get certain resources. I mean, you can always go to the one free one, but like it's almost, that's like the only way. You can only get one resource at a time, which can be frustrating when you need more than one at a time.
Yeah. But
because you're spending turns on what I feel like is already a very rushed game.
It is a very quick, snappy game. But yeah, I don't mind that as much. But I can see how. That
So it's
does
the guy
make-
who like won the campaign.
Well, well, I think the thing is, kind of as the game went on too, there were cards and stuff that you got that gave you bonus stuff. Kind of when that re-triggering happened and other things like that. So I think as the game went on, you got things via other methods that you weren't necessarily getting right away. So I think it kind of kept it a
Sure.
little bit. But
If you got those cards, though, I felt like we had a really hard time getting those cards to come out.
I don't know. I did have. I will say I did have pretty good cards. I felt.
Yeah.
Sure.
Mhm.
How about you, Abby? What do you come in with a rating?
I rated it as an 8.
Nice.
I'm usually a big fan of the worker placement thing, especially later in the game with the minions, so you do more actions. However, some of us got minions way before the other people. So, yeah, it was
Yeah.
great.
I would say that was part that kind of. I don't know, because you'd sometimes unlock minion
Yeah.
type, but then the action might not be available, so
Yeah.
only that one person that unlocked it got it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And like
Yeah.
my gold one that I got, like I don't know, it was like the first or second
Yeah,
game.
and I
it
didn't get
never
mine
got
till
built.
like game like 6.
Right,
or
and
something
yeah,
like
the way to
that.
make it never got built until the end. I think we were looking at the end at all the leftover things. So there were some actions that just never happened. But I think that's kind of the case with the Legacy game.
And I wish there was a way to, and I understand why you can't, but I wish there was a way to play minions out on other charters, or even just the inactive ones, because I don't know, I would, maybe it was just me, but I had like 5 minions, and by the end of the game I couldn't play them hardly on anything inside of my charter because it was so expensive, or like resources I didn't have access to, so I basically like didn't use my minions in the last like 2 or 3 games, because it was like. And then I had a Persona card that was like, hey, if you don't have any workers, you can grab them back. And I was like, oh, that's great. All my workers are sitting in my supply. And so I never get to use that Persona, which is bad management on my part, I guess.
No, I towards the end of the campaign, I would say it did feel like some of the action spaces were harder to use without getting resources or something to trigger them. But yeah, I guess I personally liked it a little bit more because it also felt like you had more options for scoring, whereas earlier on it felt like there were limited things you could actually do to score a good number of points. Like if you didn't win the ship thing, especially in the early game, the ship felt very strong, and towards the end it was still strong, but it
Because that's
wasn't
like
quite
10
as big.
points for the winner, and early on we were
Right.
scoring like 30 points max.
Right, right. So I did like that kind of shift of how the scoring worked a little bit. But yeah. And then yes. So that'll bring it. I guess. Did anyone else have anything else to say about core mechanics, mechanisms? No. Okay. So history. We all played this. It was a 12-game campaign, so we all played it 10 times. We max out at that. So we'll give it a perfect 10. Then we get into investment. And I'll just start off with mine. I am giving this one a 7.5. Because I feel like the games go on just about the right length, and it always felt to me like I mean, I guess kind of differed sometimes, but kind of felt like I always wanted to do just a little bit more. So that's why I always felt like it ended about right. But I guess there were some games where I felt like I don't know what I'm going to do after this, so it kind of ended at just about the perfect time. But I never felt like there were, for me anyway, that there was ever like multiple turns left and I was like, I don't really know what to do and can't do anything at all or something, because the good thing about this is you carry over stuff, so like even if you couldn't do anything in this game, you could kind of set yourself up for the future, the next game. So I did like that part, where it kind of gave you that little extra thing to do if you really couldn't do anything to get points. Yeah, and I also felt like the 12 games for me felt just about right. I think if it had been any longer, that would have been too long of a campaign. But it was getting to be the point as well where, the board had definitely, it felt way different than in the first games. Which was something I also really liked about it, that that gave it that extra replayability of, you're not, everything's kind of constantly in flux. 7.5.
Who? You? Me?
Whatever.
Max going.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know
We're gonna
what
leave
for this.
Peppers. He's probably got a 10,
Oh
I
my
think.
God.
I'm gonna match you with the 7.5 here. I think it was good time investment. I do think it was, and it probably depends because it's a decision based storyline, I guess you would call it, maybe, and or whatever factor based. And so I felt like the last two games were maybe a little anticlimactic than what I was looking for in it, and so I was. Because after the candle game, I was like, oh, we're getting real now. Like the game where Jesse had to become the Spectre or whatever. I was like, oh, we're getting somewhere now. And then it just kind of weirdly came to an end where it was like, oh, yeah, the king was going to suck your souls out. And it was like, oh, I got that. Just kidding. So I was like, interesting. But yeah, I think it was kind of right on the money there. So.
Yeah, I forgot to. I would agree, and yeah, either the investment or mechanisms. The storyline, there were definitely some interesting parts, but there was also things that, like the ending, that felt a little flat.
Yeah.
And also
The companion.
That was one thing I was going to bring up because
God.
I don't remember how many games it was into it when we first
It's like
had
5
to
or
choose
6.
that for a
There's, like, the
companion. I
halfway
thought,
point or
okay, it'll be kind of a
Yeah.
a story thing from this point forward. You'll always get to kind of pick an option or something, and then it just never came back. So it almost felt like we missed something or
Yeah,
something. But
which is entirely possible.
it's possible. But I think we looked through the cards and stuff. And there was nothing left. So yeah, I would agree that some of that fell a little flat. But
Yeah. So otherwise, I thought easy setup. Just kind of fun. Kind of. Especially because you get to bring the stuff from previous games, so that always was nice, being
Set
able to
yourself
sell, which is not something you can do in like normal non-legacy games. So yeah.
And you can also play this after the fact too.
Yes.
But I think it will play a little bit differently.
Yeah.
You won't be doing carryover and stuff. So
Right.
yeah, Abby.
Okay, so I give mine a 7.
Ooh.
So I picked that because there was a couple of games that felt kind of useless to me. Like there was like 3 games in a row where I couldn't get any buildings, I couldn't build anything, and you couldn't get like open up crates, and that's where you usually get a lot of your points from.
Yep.
So there was like 3 games in a row, which felt like I wasn't progressing or doing anything. I was just kind of there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. Yeah, because it seemed like I don't remember. It was kind of in the later stages of the game where there wasn't as many building cards in there to actually get.
And then you and Jesse had like hogged all the buildings, and so like Abby and I didn't even have a chance to getting any.
Yeah, there was like 2 buildings
Like you
in this.
stole all of mine and my personas.
Yeah, there's a
I don't think
big
it's
deck
stealing.
too
It was.
of like all these cards you have to go
I
through.
wouldn't say it was stealing, but yes, it did kind of turn out like because you could carry cards over.
Yeah.
So I think now knowing kind of that we've played through it, I feel like everyone might keep different cards than maybe they did the first time through. Like I think we'd be all way more likely to keep building and crate cards if we could from game to game. That way you're always being able to continually do that.
But now in
versus
crate
letting us
ones
go.
are worth 20 points though. So.
Well, yeah, but that's a little bit later in the
Yeah.
game. But eventually, if you're unlocking the crates,
But you can
you're
only
getting
keep-
the new ones
But
too.
you can only keep 1 card of a type. So.
Yes, but the crates and buildings are considered different. So if you could get the crate built,
you have to get the building off.
the building off of it, then you could have 2 cards.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would agree that those were hard to come by for a few of those games for sure.
Yes.
For us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I came in with investment of an 8.5, so a little higher than everybody else here. But for reasons you said, it's a really quick game and very approachable, kind of. Not too hard to wrap your head around with the mechanics of it. But I would say that a lot of the individual games did feel like they ended a little too early. I wanted just a couple more turns, and where you say it kind of leaves you wanting just a little more, and you see that as a good thing. I think the point the chunks of points are huge in this game. So every one scoring thing you do in this game is a huge chunk of points. To where if there's just a couple things I wanted to do, it feels like I'm really missing out on something. So it's a little negative for me.
I do think there was a couple of times where it's like, if I could just get one more move, I would have been happier or better situated at the end. But, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. Anything else on that?
Nope. What do we got next?
Presentation. Zab, you want to lead us off?
Our artist.
Well,
Oh boy,
I'm gonna
what's
lead
she-
it
Uh-oh.
Oh boy.
Oh no, what's she
very strong.
Oh, okay.
I gave it a 10.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I thought it was adorable. I loved it. I also like how a lot of the extras are is like white. Because it helps the other artwork of like the characters and buildings and the whole map to really
Really pop out.
pop out. It's just adorable.
Nice.
I have a 7.5.
7 point. Oh.
Because
my
I mean,
goodness.
presentation is everything, right? So the rule book, I found very frustrating. I mean, okay, very frustrating. It's maybe a little strong, but it was difficult to find. Like, there wasn't clear instructions sometimes, and I think that's just mainly because it's a legacy. So it's like, how do you, make rules? So I think they probably did the best they could with the variability that could come out of it. It just, there was a lot of times when I was like, I don't know, but based on this word, this very specific like may instead of shall or like must, I was like, I think you don't have to do this, but so that was one thing. And then the other piece was just the minion cards being separated out and like kind of being at one side of the board. Granted, they were always on my side of the board, but like I was always like, which one does this minion do, or what does this minion do? And so I was like, meh. But then there's just a lot of icons, and I didn't really understand some of the icons that came out later on. And yeah, there's like objective card versus objective scoring, and like those progress circles or the income circles or whatever. So just like a couple of things that I was, if I have to, like I just wasn't a huge fan of. But overall, I thought the art, the characters, like all that stuff was like really cute, and the buildings were neat and whatever. It just, yeah. Just a couple of things that I just thought maybe were a little messy.
Yeah, I would think the rule book wasn't the greatest at doing like the edge case type things where you had questions on it, but yeah, overall, I think part of it too might have been where we had some breaks of when we did games, so it kind of made it hard to remember certain things.
Yeah.
So that was kind of on us more than the game. But yeah, I'm coming in with a 10 as well for presentation. I really love the artwork in this one, and I love the meeples, the little minions, the coins, or metal coins, which is really nice. Yeah, and just the way the board is laid out, the stickers I think work pretty well in this one. And you can kind of just place them on top of one another. I think it works pretty well, and it's an interesting little thing with the. I don't know if at the time it was the first one to do that, because I know Clank Legacy does or has stickers. Well, did Pan.
Spoiler alert for all those other Legacy games too.
I'm gonna have to cut this in post.
But yeah, I just really liked. I really like the look of everything in this game, and like Abby said, I do like the white that makes everything else kind of pop out really nicely. And there were a few icons that I think were a little difficult that almost meant the same thing, but didn't. Like were just slightly different. But overall, I thought they were easy enough to kind of know what did what. And kind of the layout of the like this is the action, this is the reward. I really liked that.
I came in at a 9.5, and then now just hearing all the great things about it, I'm like, maybe this should be a 10. But yeah, I love the artwork too. I think this might be my favorite art style in Stonemaier games. Spoiler alert. I don't know what that's spoiling, but it's a spoiler alert. But yeah, I love the art, of course, the sticker cards, which it feels like when you're peeling the sticker off, this card's going to be bent beyond repair, but it actually goes back into the deck and shuffles pretty well, I think, for having bent it, taken a sticker out of it. But yeah, and all the wooden components are great. The metal coins, which I wasn't expecting such great resource bits in this game.
Right.
Just phenomenal production.
Yeah, I would agree. Someone's wrong. Yeah. That's
According
still pretty
to
high.
you guys.
That's still pretty high.
Yeah, I know. I'm like,
you were the one
you guys are
reading the
acting
rules.
like it's like
I
a
guess,
2.
I guess that. What did you think of the tuck box or whatever? Kind of that whole layout in the archive box, because that's kind of part of a big part of it too.
Yeah.
A big part for Max.
Yeah, she was the one handling that, so
Look,
it's hard for me to comment.
If
on
I
it.
didn't get to do that, I would have had no involvement in the actual storyline of the game. Because I never won the gold guide post or whatever it was or whatever, so I never got to really do anything. But I mean, it was fine. I mean, obviously the box needs to start off big, for all those cards, but after a while the cards kind of start shifting in there, and so you have to you want to keep them in an order without going through them, and so I tried my best to start stacking them or leaning them or so it was fine. I mean, the box is a little small, but I think it was in the 5th game that I saw they actually included an insert with big so you could see, and I was like, oh, this is great. I've just been wrecking my eyes trying to see on this crate, and so I think there's a couple of times when I probably missed a card or two, but it's just because you're trying to figure out the crate and then lining it up and then grabbing the cards and at the same time. But that's not against the game, that's just how it works. So I was like, I wish I would have known that little handout there was around. So yeah, it was fine. It's good.
Okay. Well, that'll get us into preference. What?
Nothing. You guys didn't like mine before.
You're leading us
Oh
off.
boy.
I gave it a preference of 6.5.
Oh my God, Mac.
So, guys acting like that's bad. It's not even bad, okay? But it's a worker placement game, which is not up my alley, right? We all
In the
agree.
scale, we put everything below a 7 as trash.
Wow. Hurt Jamie's feelings. No, the worker placement games are just have never really been my forte, right? I don't know. I'm a card drafter. I'm a dice roller. I don't know, but it really is. It is just a worker placement game. And what I struggled with was, like I said earlier, with the minions. If you can't place your minions on something because you cannot perform the action, they basically are rendered useless. And so I was like. So it really leaves you with the 2 that you have, and if you gotta pull back on a turn, and the game already feels rushed, so it feels terrible to waste the turn almost. And so I just never really got anything going. I couldn't really ever figure. I think I won 2 games, and then I don't think I even scored very well, through the last half, and so. That's just me not being great at worker placement games, but the board was continually changing too, so I don't know. Out of other games, that I could play now, because it's okay, preference as a legacy game, it was pretty good, but preference to pull it off the shelf now, I was probably not much, because the legacy for me was the driving factor behind wanting to continue playing it. Now it's just a worker placement game. I don't know.
Yep.
So.
How about Abby?
I gave mine a 7
Okay.
as well, mainly because, I don't know, each time you played it, or at least for me, it was a toss-up whether I'm going to enjoy this game or not. So
The brutal beatings at the end were rough.
yeah.
When you had 40 more points. Well, at least you were close behind him. I guess it's Jesse in the back.
Yeah, but I still got last.
It's okay. You
That's
just
what I
took a
wanna
couple
know,
games to
man.
find your stride.
Yeah, I think if it had kept going, she was probably in a
Yeah,
second
a good spot.
best position to succeed. She put herself there.
Yeah,
She just
it took me a
started
while
slow.
to get my buildings out.
Yeah.
I had very little actions.
But
Yeah, I had an 8.25. I'm not like you, not a huge fan of worker placement. It's good, but it's not something that gets me super excited about a game.
And it's not revolutionary in how
Yeah.
the worker placement
Yeah.
happens.
But it is still,
this game.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it is still very quick and
Yeah.
very approachable, and wonderfully produced games. So I think that puts it above some of the other more basic worker placement games. But still, like you guys said, there were a couple games in there that did hurt near the end. When kind of I was very far behind, and this guy was very, very far ahead. Just got some good cards that worked together really well.
I was like, is it me? Am I the problem?
But yeah, it's still good, still great, and I'm not thinking that the post-campaign play is going to be nearly as good, but we can replay it. We have a recharge pack.
We did get the
And you
recharge pack.
can technically still, if there are buildings in the adventure
Yeah.
deck, you can still
Change the game.
change the game.
And
Yeah.
also choose, like, different kings as well. You know? To
Yeah.
have
Oh,
a
yeah.
different, like, outcome
Oh.
on some of the stories.
Oh, yeah, if you
Yeah.
do the recharge pack, yep. Yep.
Make him very angry every time.
Yes. He's an angry kid. Yeah, for preference, I've got a 7.5, so kind of right in the middle there. I definitely, during the campaign, wanted to get it back to the table. I was having a really good time with it. Just because it was so quick as well. It seems like one, like, even if we did want to do the recharge pack, could almost, if you really wanted to dedicate like a whole weekend to it, you could. This is something you could easily bust out in a weekend, even though it is 12 games of it.
I think we played
it's just
multiple
so quick
games.
Yeah.
most of the time
Yeah.
when we got it out. 'Cause, yeah, it's just so quick. But yeah, I'm not sure about the post campaign. The only thing about that maybe is, 'cause like you guys had said, those last few games I was quite a bit ahead, but it might have been because of my cards that I had available to me. They worked like really, really well with what I also had in my little
I don't
area.
even know how you had a capacity
In
at
the
all
pit?
to carry stuff forward because you just kept winning.
Well, I only had
Don't make me
two
feel
wins,
worse.
and then I won the last two.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I hadn't won
I
it
see.
since like game
Because
5.
once I became a ghost,
He
Yeah.
started
I went on a
winning.
winning streak,
Yeah.
giving him that capacity
Yeah.
to sneak it out.
But yeah, so then, yeah, he's the one that did it to you guys. But
How
yeah,
dare you.
I was wondering if maybe, since I don't actually carry that stuff over anymore in post-campaign, it kind of splits out everything else kind of a little
Back
more
on an
evenly.
even playing
So it kind
field.
of would make it interesting because, too, you can end up on those extra charters as your base for that time. But yeah, so 7.5. I would say I'd still be willing to try this post-campaign because, like you said, it's easy to set up, and it's one that I would be a little interested in seeing how it actually plays afterwards. Because I know Tom had said that it wasn't a very high thing for him when he was playing through the campaign, but now he would just as well just sticker it to begin with, and then play from there. And he likes the after
Does he
campaign
have
play.
a specific way he wants the stickers out?
That's what I don't know. I even after playing this, I thought, well, maybe that'll make more sense. But
Yeah.
I'm like, I
Nope.
don't know how I would do that. But
No.
but no, I'm more than willing to, or more than excited to actually use the recharge pack and play it again. But I'm a little surprised at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, It Factor, the last one. I'll just give mine. It's a 9. There's just something about the campaign games I think are always going to have a little bit of a higher It Factor, just because it's kind of a whole experience versus just one game of something. So it just kind of has that little extra, not necessarily that, like you said, now post-campaign, it's not like, oh, this has something really, really special about it. But it did have that initial experience of something unique and fun. So.
Mine is a little lower, a 6.25.
Splitting hairs. Always with him.
Yes. So the stickering and upgrading of everything is great, and that's what I love about a legacy game. But I also love the story in legacy games, and I feel like this one was very mediocre, hit or miss. There were some things that happened that felt like, oh my god, like we had the candle, which pretty much turned it into kind of a timed game, and then also
I was like, this needs to burn faster. I don't know
Yeah.
how we made it through the game.
We did. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, and then I lost my body. I became a ghost.
Yeah,
so,
there were moments that were really awesome.
Yeah, so I literally couldn't win the campaign unless I had paid some cost to get my body back. And I was like, because those happened like pretty close to each other, those two things.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, this is just really wrapping up to get even more crazy in these final games. And like you kind of mentioned earlier, wasn't really anything that special near the end, which was a little disappointing, and I think that has hurt the it factor for it quite a bit.
Abby?
I gave mine an 8.
Ooh.
Right in the middle of us.
Yeah, because this was my first time doing a legacy game.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because yeah.
You didn't play the Clank one.
Yeah, I played
Oh,
it
yeah,
after.
sorry.
But yeah, I thought it was pretty fun being able to name like
name
people
stuff.
and your little.
Well, we never even gave the
Charter.
names of our charters.
Yeah, I was the Pit, and I was. What was his name?
Tony.
Tony or
Anthony. Tony.
Anthony.
Tony.
Yeah, it's hard to remember. That's why it's Glenn from Glen Hills for me.
What was it? Yours?
Mine was Edith from Iron Crest.
Mine was
Wow. Hate me.
What?
Nothing.
Mine was Basic Becky from the Lost Forest.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you were in the.
Mhm.
Why did you go with
area.
Basic Becky?
I honestly can't really remember. And then I had Hops throughout the whole entire campaign as well.
Yes,
I couldn't let him go.
Yeah, I had
Yeah,
Bryn
Mhm.
as a sorceress.
I can't even remember. I did keep some throughout the. I don't remember.
I
what the
had
name
Quinn for like the entire game, pretty much, because I was getting a lot of coins in my spots, and he gave me additional, and he was perfect pairing.
was. Yeah. So yeah, that first experience you thought though was.
Yeah,
Pretty
I
solid.
thought it was pretty fun.
Would you play the recharge pack?
Yes.
Gotta get another Clank Legacy. Play it again.
Clank
True.
Space.
It's true. She might want to play it. Did you say yours?
No, I
No.
haven't yet. No, I was gonna let her finish if there was additional
yeah.
things she wanted to say.
Yeah.
That was
Okay. All right. I gave it an X factor of 7. I thought I have played other Legacy games, and I think I did like Clank Legacy better, just from the storyline perspective. I mean, they're kind of the same in that they're the same game basically, like the whole campaign through, like except with the exception of like the changing. Yeah, I don't want to spoil too much for Clank Legacy, but
In pieces, but
yeah. So I, it's kind of right up there where it's that. I agree with Jesse. The storyline was, here and there, I guess. But I just think it's like anytime you play a Legacy, it's so fun, like Abby said, to name your characters, to kind of have your inside jokes, like with Thorbowski, and to like have your minions, and it's just fun to unlock those things and like see what other people are doing, and just that whole experience, and like the shared experience, I always just think is always great. And I think Charterstone did a really good job of building that shared experience, with the exception of you stealing all of my persona, not all of them, but a couple of my personas.
Yeah, when they started
Drag it down.
introducing those to where other people could get them,
Yeah.
I was like, oh no.
I was like, this is terrible.
you're calling it stealing, but it wasn't really stealing. You at the end
It's
of the
taking
game
something that's
let
yours.
your buildings go into the deck, and I just happened to be the one to get it.
I'm pretty sure.
I didn't go out of my way to be like, yes, I will take that card from you.
Oh, Jesse was, though. He knew I could get it the next turn. He's like, I'm going to take it.
I didn't know that.
No, I meant like, well, you were sitting over on that
It's
side of
still-
the table. I
it's
didn't take
still-
it from you.
It's still stealing. I mean, you needed iron to build it. I mean, so part of me is like, okay, so maybe this was the plan all along.
If it makes you feel any better, I never built that building back.
Wow. But the other thing I was like, well, maybe that's part of the plan is like, if you guys are trading off
Mix it.
personas, then it will
Yeah.
mix the board and have like force people to come to your
I think that's what it is.
areas.
Like I don't know that it's necessarily set up to where you're just supposed to build only your stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is supposed to
Right.
mix that a little bit, but I can see how that is a little disappointing if
Yeah, it just sucks that there's personas of me out there that I never got to use.
Yeah.
I can understand that.
So, and I got one of yours, and it was useless because we didn't have any guess price on the board. I was like, oh, okay. Thanks a lot, Tony.
Tony.
Anyway,
But yeah, then we can get into our overall scores that we ran through the spreadsheets and came up with, giving me an 8.3.
I have an 8.7.
I have an 8.2.
I have a 7.4.
Wow, I actually had the highest. I didn't think I would.
I
didn't think I would.
I didn't think you would either. I thought I would probably be the highest. But yeah, those are all pretty close, pretty high ratings of it, though, I think. I guess, did you say if you would play it again?
I need a break, but I would play it again.
No, okay.
Maybe like next year.
So next weekend.
No.
A whole campaign weekend. I think Jamie said something about I think it was Jamie, said that him and his buddies, when they've played it before, they do like a feast thing alongside it where everyone brings something that kind of comes from their charter or whatever that means. I'm like, I don't really, now playing this, I don't know what that really means.
You'd have to bring something
Bricks.
brick related. There's pumpkin and grain, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to
You'd come up
have
with
Zach and Carson. I'd like to play it at 6 player.
Yeah,
I'd
I
love
was
to
gonna-
see how it is at 6 player because it sucked to like have to,
Adding those charters.
for those
Yeah.
other charters.
I was going to ask that because, now that we did our overall, we can, I guess, talk about maybe other elements of the game that didn't really fit into this. I was going to ask, what did you think about having those two, vacant charters?
I mean, it was nice because they didn't change, so you knew you could always get those certain things there, but they weren't. I didn't feel like that because they come out at random, so I didn't feel like they were that great. Like that one, you had to spend 3 bricks to
Yeah.
get the golem minion, and I was like, yeah, no.
Which the Golem minion is
He is
really good.
It just sucks when that what are those little cubes?
The-
Peril.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
peril cubes, the color you need is on there, and you're like, ah, no.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
What do you think about those open ones? Or didn't really have any thoughts on them?
I didn't really use them, too much. I think if they did have people on there, be most likely to have better buildings on it because with those empty ones you can't put a sticker over them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because a few times you kind of put a little thought into what you are going to want to use and what others are going to want to use in the future to possibly
Get
help your
yourself up.
minions and things like that in your own charter. And when you take out kind of that thought process, it can be a little chaotic as to what random buildings are in those charters. And sometimes there were a couple that were good, like pumpkin production. There were a couple of those, but like Max said, there were some where
Yeah.
we never went to it.
And I was so
Right.
sad too because I ended up getting a lot of pumpkin buildings, but because I don't have the pumpkin producer in my charter, I was like, well, this is
Well, you could go over to it. though.
stinky because then I gotta use a minion on the building, and then I have gotta use because I'd prefer to just use my minion every time like I did with the iron, but
But I suppose, do you think, one of the things that I had one of your iron buildings that required 4. And I had to go use your building twice, and you had one of your minions on it, so you were getting a bonus
yeah.
every time I used it. I guess, did you like that portion of it? That maybe since they got more diversified, then all of a sudden, well, he needs this, so if I put my minion here, he's going to have to come there to get it. Because, like you said,
But
there
it's-
wasn't multiple ways to really get a lot of it.
But it's also a matter of timing, though, because you have to get
Yeah.
your minion out there before somebody else plays on it, because you can't play on it if somebody is on there.
That's true.
And then whether or not it's when you need to pull off or before that person, so it's just a matter of timing, too, because, I mean,
Yeah.
I could try to do my game based upon what I think you're going to do, but
Yeah, but
I
then
don't
they can
know.
just kind of delay that a little bit. Wait till you get rid of your minion, then go there.
Because I feel like I hardly ever played on anybody else's and where they actually had a minion on it. So you
Yeah, we
probably did more so than anyone else, but I just felt like it was not something I saw myself doing, and so I figured no one really is going to come to mine either.
It's
Yeah.
weird because I even had a persona, I think, that allowed me to ignore the minion. Did you
Oh,
have
really?
one?
No, I
Oh.
just remembered.
Yeah,
reading.
I had one like that. I think I
it's
used it
fine.
once, but I didn't actually really not benefit. You guys didn't benefit from it, I guess. That was that one's to me. That didn't really seem like a very fun one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a couple personas I didn't feel like were super useful.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The personas really did seem kind of a little bit of. Some seemed way better than other ones.
Mhm.
Yeah, I liked a lot of my personas. Like, well, a lot of mine were rolling the kind of Charterstone, the die, and possibly getting points if I had gone or do go to that charter, that area, which I thought was just a nice little thing to do instead of actually playing your whole game based around some ability that maybe isn't what you want. It's just a bonus possible point that you could roll for.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to think if there's anything else. I guess, did you ever feel like it was, 'cause there were a lot of cards, and then towards the end there were those repeating benefits as well. I guess, did you ever feel like it was hard to remember if you scored points for everything? Maybe that was just mine, because I had some that would give me an extra point if I did certain things, and I'd always forget, like, oh, did I score that extra point?
Yeah, I think that those action spots where you can get the ongoing income, I'm not sure how early those can be introduced in the game, but they were introduced pretty late in our campaign,
Yeah.
to where I felt like that was just a little too much. I pretty much ignored them.
Because it was like game like 8 or 9 when Zach finally got that one out there where you could get 2 points for every income, and then on the last game you can't even use other people's skyports. So it was like, great, can't even go there.
Yeah, I guess too, the story, did you like those different things? Like, a lot of it had to kind of do with what you could and couldn't do during a certain game. Did you like how those changed it, or did those feel like they locked it down too much? Like, you couldn't use the people's sky things, you couldn't place your own actual workers, only your whatever in your zone, or things like that.
I feel like that one specifically didn't do much because I already wasn't placing my own workers
Yeah.
in my charter, like, because you can use your minions. So,
Yeah.
but overall, I'm trying to remember because the most recent ones are in my head, and so I'm trying to remember what like the first ones. Because I think the first ones were more like goal oriented, like have so much of this or get the most coins or something like that.
Yeah.
So those were more so like pushing you towards learning how to increase your whatever revenue or whatever.
Yeah, I enjoyed pretty much all of those and how they changed it up, except for the not using other person's sky towers, because that's pretty hard to remember. When you just look out there, you're used to the actions. You're like, oh, I want to go do that, and you go to it, and it's like, no, that's right, that's a sky tower.
Mm.
It can be tough, I think,
Yeah,
with
that
that
is
specific
tough to
one.
remember. Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. Any other final thoughts on anything Charterstone related? Any of the games? Anything special?
I just really thought we were going to use that dice more.
Yeah, I did feel
I
like
mean,
it
you
was
got to roll it,
Yeah,
but like
I got to use it a lot.
Yeah, I was like, huh.
Yeah, it would have been a little more fun to use it a little bit more often, but I didn't even see any other ways to really use it.
There was one like special rule where, like, if you went to somebody else's charter, if you like
yeah.
rolled and landed on
Oh, yeah,
either
that
one,
was-
then you get like
Oh yeah,
one
that's right.
victory or two.
Yeah, that was that like one of the
That was like
earlier
it,
games?
5 or 6.
Yeah, I thought it was
Halfway
later.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was fun. I kind of wish that was just a thing in all games. 'Cause that one was pretty fun. Where you're at least rolling it, and it's not like it's a huge amount of points.
No.
Could definitely encourage you to go out to others more too, if that's kind of yeah.
Well, yeah, I think the last thing that I would say too is that I felt like sometimes I probably actually didn't know what all the actions were on all the spaces, because I felt like there were ones that I really wanted to go to over and over.
There are some
Yeah.
that I never used. Like I don't even.
Right.
Yeah. Easily.
Yeah, I don't know how many times we ever use the treasury, which is one of the core actions in the center of the board, always there.
Yeah.
I think it's turn a resource into a coin.
Yeah.
I don't
I
think
think we used it like
I don't
in
think
the
we.
first game or two, but then
Yeah.
after that it was.
I don't think we used it even 5 times the entire campaign.
Right.
And there was a card that gave you like something every time you use the treasury, and I was like, maybe we're cheating and robbing or something. I don't know, because I'm like, I saw him multiple times, and I was like, well, I don't need you, because I never go there. Like, I'm not going there. So,
Yeah.
yeah. I will say I did like the Zeppelin port or whatever. Like, it was really nice to be able to turn
yeah.
your extra stuff that you, like, really weren't using, like the peril tokens and stuff into, like,
Oh,
big
okay.
Oh,
numbers.
yeah.
the
The
top
quota
part,
track.
So, yeah, that one probably was one of my favorite sections of the
that was nice.
board.
Yeah, that is a solid section that I feel like you don't really think about until towards the end of the game
Yeah.
most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
At least I didn't. I
Because you
didn't,
gotta
but
put your
maybe-
influence tokens on there, so you're like,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah. So maybe don't wait until the end of the game. You might be out of influence.
Yeah, that's always tough because I did that a few times
Yeah.
where I'm like, oh, I'll just go up there.
Yeah.
Takes an influence token.
And then you do something and you're like, oh, I need 3 to build a building? Uh-oh. Someone get me the chef! Yeah. It was good. Lots of fun.
Yeah. So that was all of our thoughts on Charterstone, and kind of the whole campaign. We did the whole playthrough. Yeah, if you've made it this far and like what you've seen, definitely give us a thumbs up. Otherwise, check out some of our other content, especially if you're a Stonemaier fan. You can check out all those other videos. But otherwise, we hope to see you on the next one. And as always, don't forget to,
Keep on nibbling.
on our content, and those pumpkin pies.